people on a focus group. So if you are really interested in giving us some of your feedback on how the platform is working, how you're finding it, etc., please do look out for those emails. We'll be sending them through to you, and you'll be able then to be able to access us and be able to give us the feedback that you might want to give us around how the platform actually works. Another thing I wanted to highlight is Mandela Day is around the corner. It is May, it's the 19th of May. So yesterday was exactly 2 months away from Mandela Day. So if you can start thinking about your Mandela Day needs, start adding those needs on the platform. A lot of our corporate clients have already started planning out their Mandela Days. And so put up those needs so they can see what you're planning and they can see if they can send people through your way, should they need to. And then lastly, before I jump off and I introduce Pilani, is just to please make sure that you are compliant with Mandela Day coming up. I don't want to have to deactivate any of you guys before Mandela Day. So please just make sure that you are compliant. Send through any tax clearances that are outstanding. Make sure that you are responding to all the volunteers and donors that are reaching out to you. And yeah, guys, really are looking forward to this masterclass session. After the session, I'll also be sending out another invite to a masterclass session for smartphone usage. That's going to be at the end of this month. I just didn't want to confuse you guys. So when you see that, please don't worry. It's not a practical session. That's just a session for you guys to come and get capacitated. And that's really for a session for you guys as people that might work with vulnerable people, being children that use smartphones. If you are a parent yourself, if you're a guardian, or if you've got parents and guardians within your programs as well, this would be something great for them to get involved in. But without wasting any more time, let me introduce Pilani. Pilani, I see you're in the room. If you can just come on camera so I can do a quick intro on who you are and what you guys do. So we've got Pilani Mdingi in the room, and he is from a company called Tech4good. Let me just get their website, and I'll paste the website onto the chat for those of you guys who have not interacted with them. But what they do is they are a company that works for you guys as NGOs. So they work for tech solutions for NGOs. So all things tech, really, I don't want to limit them to just say it's just about hardware only. All things tech strategy, implementation, anything you can think of, they're your go-to guys. Like I've said, they've run a couple of our masterclasses throughout last year, so they can also capacitate your team a bit further and a bit deeper than what they've already done in these sessions. And yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to Pilani again for coming back. Thank you for braving it out again with our NGOs. And you're looking forward to the session. Just as a reminder to prep all your documents. I'm not sure how the session will be running, so just prep all your documents so that as Pilani is going through them, you are also practicing on your side, and you're actually also practically doing the actual steps of the session. Without taking up any more time, Pilani, let me hand over to you. Please do go ahead and start on your side.
Good morning, colleagues. Lovely to be back into the fray for good sessions. These are always fun for me, and I really do enjoy them. However, interestingly, in today's session, in fact, not just for today, even going forward, as Zamo mentioned, we are changing the structure and the delivery of the sessions to make them more hands-on, more engaged, and really more practical in how we manage these. And that will be reflected in today's session. As you would imagine, being a more practical session, doing those in a room full of 72 people needs a level of patience from all of us in terms of making sure we bring everybody with us as we go through the process. And also just a bit of a caveat is that you might find in today's sessions, there'll be differing competency and skill levels within the room. So for those people who might find this a bit more not as advanced as I used to, please do bear with us. And in fact, you can then assist even in the session in terms of some questions that may crop up from people in the room. So with that in mind, let me just share my screen so we can get kicked off. So yes. So colleagues, once again, just please be on mute if you are not talking, and then you can just unmute when there's time for questions, etc. Thank you. So essentially, what we're doing today is going through fundraising using email communications. I would imagine there is a fair share of organizations in the room that are currently doing this. Um, Reason being that email is pretty much one of the still the most efficient ways to communicate with your subscribers and also your donors and potential donors. So we'll be going through this session, and the way we will do it is that we will split it according to the times that are framed in this slide. So we'll have about plus minus 90-minute session. And what we'll do is we will split it according to the email platform itself, conversations, and how to set up your campaigns. We'll also look into, so that's the do session really, around setting up campaigns. In this session, we will be using MailerLite on my side. We had sent through a document in prep of this session, just requesting colleagues to sign up within MailerLite. Hopefully, people have done that. If not, I suppose in this session earlier on, it would be an opportunity to do that as well. However, very important to mention that not everybody uses MailerLite. There might be colleagues already who are using within the organizations different email platforms. That is also fine as well for this session. We'll work around that as well for this session. So this is our roadmap for the day, essentially. And with that, before you even proceed, I would be really interested to have a good sense of, and you can do this just by a thumbs up within the group. How many people are currently using email for email sharing? I see there's a hand up instead of a thumbs up. Master Tembe, please go ahead.
Typed wrong. Sorry for that.
Or was that supposed to be a thumbs up?
Definitely.
Okay, no, we'll take that. We'll take that. Yeah, so I'm just interested to understand how many people are already using email comms. And I think also rely on you, Zamo, to just give me a sense of how many thumbs up because I can see I can see because I'm sharing. But it would be interesting, colleagues, just let me know what that looks like in your universe in terms of email usage for fundraising. In fact, even if it's not only for fundraising, but just for communicating with perhaps your stakeholders.
But quite a lot in this group, Pilani. So at least we are not starting from scratch. I think we've got a good mixture, but a lot of thumbs up are coming through on our side.
Okay, great. And in terms of, I'd be curious to understand by way of maybe typing in just into the comment, the email platform that organizations or colleagues in the call are using, whether it's MailChimp, whatnot. It just gives me a sense of, the kind of platform that is I suppose used by the bulk of our colleagues. You'll just guide me there as I go through this, Zamo.
No problem. I'm just giving everybody a chance to send their answers through. We have got, okay, we've got quite a few Outlooks, MailChimp, and then there's some that I've never heard of even. There's something called FEA Crates. I don't know if it's called FEA Crate. Outlook, MailChimp, Everlytic, I think it's what you say, and
Yes.
emails. But yeah, a nice mixture. I mean, there's a lot that I haven't heard of. There's even something called sender.net. So quite a few people, some people use Salesforce as well. So yeah, a nice few different types of different tools that people are using. I see Zoho, I also see Outlook, a few more Gmails and Outlook. So seemingly a lot of popularity around Outlook, Gmail, and MailChimp at this moment. Those are the ones that seem to be the highest ones that I mentioned here in the chat.
Great stuff. I'm quite familiar with Everlytic. In fact, I was one of the team. I was a part of the team that actually built Everlytic at the time. I think it was 2011, 2012. So quite familiar with it. Outlook colleagues are my favorite colleagues because I think there'll be a lot of value for them for this session. And also our Gmail colleagues who use Gmail. And I'm hoping after this session, there'll be migration from Outlook to any of the different, I suppose, options, whether it's Everlytic or it's MailerLite and so on. Great stuff. So some ground rules, colleague. So for this session, whatever email platform you are using, I would encourage you to have it ready. As this is a practical session, have it ready and open in a tab on your computer. I really appreciate that. For colleagues who are using Gmail and Outlook, I do hope that they did sign up for MailerLite based on the comms that was sent, I think, about a week or so ago in preparation of this session. So I hope you have done that. If not, you may quickly do it now, please. And you will note also that I think even in the link to this meeting, there were still instructions there on how to sign up on MailerLite as well. This will be a practical session in the sense that even when we do the sessions, we'll work on your real organization, not necessarily a test account. However, the database won't be a real live database, but ideally would love to work within your real organization's email platform, whether it's MailerLite, whether it's Everlytic, whether it's MailChimp, etc. And when you do get stuck during the process, do raise your hand. We'll have to find a way to work around that. Again, this is the first of these sessions. We will have some learnings as we facilitate and do this session because if you note, all the sessions from last year were predominantly very much around concepts and so on. But these ones are really, really hands-on. So it's going to get hands-on and sometimes date in the sense that we need to pause and assist people in the session. So, and hopefully we'll still do that within the allocated time. So do raise a hand when there are challenges and let's see how we can assist. There are other colleagues, I think, in this session who are quite familiar with some of these platforms as well. No questions are too basic, please. If anything pops up, please just give a shout. We are all here to learn in this process. And I think before we even do the practical, it's always very important to reflect on what email really is and what we speak about when we speak about email, especially what we call bulk mail. Or mails that you can personalize to a big amount of people or a big database of people. As I mentioned earlier on, I've been in the email platform space for quite a while. In my other life, I was the kind of head of digital for Everlytic, which is an email, South African born and bred email platform. And I actually set up an NGO program back in the day there as well. And one of the things, and this has been discourse for a very long time, even now, was always that at some point, email communications would become obsolete and they would be useless, especially in the time of social media and other emerging platforms. There's been, at least for the last 10, 15 years, a sense that email would one day die. Yet, even still today, email is well and alive, especially as a business communication tool, right? And what makes email works for NGOs and civil society actors as well is that one, it is direct and personal. When you send a bulk email, so when you speak about direct and personal, we're not really referring to sending via Outlook or via Gmail, but rather via a email, bulk email platform like Everlytic, MailerLite, and so on. Because you can be direct and personal. and it lands straight into the recipient's inbox. So there aren't any algorithms you must be fighting with for attention and so on. And it's not really a no pay, no play kind of platform where they are you must pay to access. The second thing is the beauty and the magic of segmentation and personalization within email, in the sense that you can send different messages to different people or different segments within your database. So when you speak about database, in this case, you speak about your email list that you have all your subscribers. And that email list would be obviously name, surname, organization, email address, etc. And you can add other variables that you may need. So it allows for segmentation and personalization. And very importantly, from a fundraising perspective, you are able to then create segments where you can have lapsed donors, first-time donors, active donors, champions of the organizations, and so on. And you can segment them when you send email communications. And even though you send them in bulk with one click, the way you set up your database, you can send to X amount of people and send very targeted messaging that is personalized to where they are. We will talk quite a bit around what we imply when we say lapsed donors and active donors, etc., and what that means, and also champions. So we'll speak a bit more about that. But the beauty is that you're able to personalize and segment when you send these communications. Very key and important is the measurability of email comms. Except for our colleagues who today we will convince to migrate from Gmail and Outlook. But for any other bulk emailing platform worth its salt, you will have a certain amount of analytics that you can view after sending communications. And you can have a look at things like opens, your clicks, your donations as well, especially if you're using an advanced platform, especially if you have one that is maybe connected to Salesforce, you should be able to also measure the rand value of your donations. And what you want to do here when you measure is you want to know what's working. And you can see it in real time with email communications, which is very important. And as we know in this day and age, we spend immense amount of time on mobile. And typically, all these email comms are mobile friendly in the sense that they can be able to be viewed effectively within mobile phones. And also about 70% plus typically of emails are checked out initially on mobile phones. And platforms like MailerLite, like Everlytic, like MailChimp will also give you templates to create these email messages. So it's drag and drop typically, which then saves you quite a big chunk of time when you're setting up campaigns. In summary, why email? Average cost. It costs you about 8 cents per email sent on average. And the amount of return on investment in communications on email is generally quite high, up to 4,200% in some instances for well-managed and advanced email senders. And really, email is in particular the number one channel for donor retention. When you want to retain donors that exist within the organization and you want to, fill them in on your campaigns or the work you have been doing to keep them interested, it really, really works very well in that sense from an email perspective. So what we will do, and this is where really things get interesting, colleagues, is that to bring this home around what we say are the benefits of email comms, especially for fundraising, is that we will do a 4-step live campaign. And this is where really it would be great for colleagues who have either using Everlytic or using MailChimp to use those, but also hopefully colleagues who didn't have a mailing platform, they would have signed up to MailerLite account. but I think it would be interesting now to pause and check via a thumbs up. How many colleagues currently don't have either MailerLite or any other email uh, platform that is ready now within their browser? Let's have a look, and then Zamo, you let me know what that looks like, what the picture looks like.
So this is just for everyone who hasn't had a chance to either download, not download, rather to sign up on MailerLite,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
you don't have existing other platforms such as MailChimp or Everlytic. If you are not ready, I have put a link in for MailerLite in the chat. So if you can just click on that link to set yourself up. I did put it up a few minutes ago, so I'm sure everybody who wasn't ready should sort of be wrapping up now with getting themselves ready. If you use MailChimp or any other mail tool, you should also still be able to do some of the things that Pilani is about to show us. We obviously can't cover all of the different tools because there's so many. Maybe just a quick question while everybody who's getting themselves sorted out, Pilani. Daniela wants to know if you know anything about sender.net and if that would still be appropriate for them to be able to use in the session.
I do not know Sena.net, by the way. But generally, email platforms, if it's a bulk emailing platform where you log in using your password and you log in into a browser and log in there and upload a database or email list, it should be fine.
Okay. So Daniela, I think you should be fine. I've had a bit of a look at sender.net's interface. It does look a bit like MailChimp, so I think you should be fine. But if there's anything that you're struggling with specifically on there, then I think Pilani will still be able to just jump in and assist you where he needs to.
Great.
Perfect.
And how are our colleagues looking that don't have a platform, Zamo?
I think we should be good to go. There's quite maybe 2 or 3, but I think you can start just in the interest of time. I don't want to take up any more.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, thanks. Do guide me because, colleagues, this is the first of its kind and it's more practical. So we'll try to time ourselves well. But yeah, we are learning, I suppose, all of us to structure this as we go. And also, by the way, also, it would be great to get some feedback, perhaps to Zamo via email after this to say, how does this new format look like? We'll get a sense at the end, I suppose, and maybe some feedback would really appreciate it to see how we can fine tune it and make it better. Yeah, so colleagues, for those who have platforms already, is that we will then start importing. So we had requested that colleagues create maybe a database or a list of about five people in a new database, right? So this would be name, email, organization, and email address. Hopefully that was done. And then what I will do is in this session, I will be going through my account on MailerLite. And this is for the benefit, I suppose, for colleagues who might not be familiar also with these platforms, who use Outlook and use Gmail, is that we will then have a look at that, upload the information, do that kind of work within a span of 15 minutes. And then from there, we'll then move into segmenting audiences. This is the more interesting and sexy stuff around email comms. And we'll look at obviously things like active donors. We'll look at lapsed donors, and so on, and how to build those segments and what the benefits of those segments are. And then eventually we will then write and schedule an email, a fundraising email. And that would be really the crux of the session, or let me say the bulk of the session today. Also, we will do exercises around messaging because especially for colleagues who already have platforms and they use platforms, some of the benefits in this session would be how to structure effective kind of donor email comms. So we'll spend quite a bit of time on that as well. Once we've moved out of, I suppose, once we've moved out of this session around the platform itself. And then from there, and then we will write and schedule a fundraising email. The spirit of this session, colleagues, is that as we go through this, it's an opportunity for you to then create your campaign. And then at the end of the session, you would have a ready campaign that I'd say is informed by the right principles for donor communication within your platform, and then being ready to then put that into play later on after this session. So that is the idea. But before I proceed, in case there's some clarity required, I'll give colleagues an opportunity now before we go ahead, to ask me any questions if there's no clarity on how we're going to do this session.
Hey guys, this is just a chance for you to be able to ask. Oh, there we go. Louise got her hand up. Louise, please go ahead.
Hello, I just want to say I'm probably the most uninformed person here, so please bear with me. I just want to ask, I've now tried to sign up to MailerLite, but it starts immediately with giving me a training video. And so I don't know how to go on from there, because then it says here, continue the builder and so on. So I don't know how to be sure that I'm signed up for MailerLite.
All right. So what you can do, Louise, is so I imagine you went to the browser, you went to the link, you clicked, and you put in perhaps your details, right?
That's right.
Okay. Then in a way signed up. If you get any training videos, but you are inside, i.e. logged in, you can just move away from those, you can close them. There should be a way to close them down. So you can just close those and go to the dashboard. Find the dashboard option on the menu, and you can just, for now, be on the dashboard section.
Thank you. I'll try that. Thank you.
Okay, I saw another hand coming up.
Diana, please go ahead. I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I think I might be the same. I am on the dashboard where it says create your mail, start building. Am I at the right place?
Yes, you'll be in the right place. That's the dashboard. Correct. That's
Okay, thank you.
perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, in fact, what I will do for now, colleagues, also, I'm just going to also go into my, which I will share, my platform, and then share with you. Okay, so this is the menu here, by the way, if you are inside MailerLite. So I'll just go to the dashboard for now, which would be your home, almost your home page, really, of your platform. And I think the first thing that we will do, I will run through the process of uploading a list for the benefit of our colleagues who may not be familiar with this. For those colleagues who are more advanced in this scenario, please bear with us as we go through this. So, colleagues, for those especially who are new within MailerLite, but the principle still applies for colleagues who are using Everlytic or any other platform like MailChimp, is that the first thing you want to do is, on subscribers here, is if you are new, that means as you sign up, you don't have a database or you don't have a mailing list in your platform. The mailing list essentially is a compilation of people that you would send your campaigns to. So in this regard, the first thing you want to do when you sign up is, before you even send any campaign and so on, you need to have a list. And then the question you might have is that in the real world, where would this list come from, right? And I think it's always one of the biggest questions around email communication, is to say, how do I grow my list? But also, how do I even get a list that I can use, right? And also, most importantly, what are the laws governing? And we spoke about these. We spoke about data laws last year and data compliance in one of the sessions last year. Is that very important to mention? People that you send emails two must have opted into your communication. So when we speak about opting in, they must have intentionally and explicitly said, send us your communication from your organization. And this is done through many tactics. One of the ways of doing it is having a form on your website that links directly into this platform or similar platform, where you put it up and then people can sign up. Especially for colleagues who currently have, and a lot of colleagues I've noted tend to have this, who have websites where there is a button to donate. Some of the colleagues who have button to donate also capture people's details like email and name, etc. And you would need there also to then let them know that by doing this, they are opting into your email communications, because that is one of the ways you can then build an email list or a mailer list. So just a bit of background, but there are many tactics of doing this. There's very many variations of how you can grow lists. You can even do them at events. In some cases, as a scenario, you have a physical event. You have a computer when people check in for the event, or you have a tablet with a form that connects your email. There's many ways to do this, but for the sake of this session, the assumption is that you do already have a list that you then want to add into this platform or any other platform you use. And to do that is we'll click here on subscribers. On the menu or on the dashboard. It's taking quite a while. Right, it's driven subscribers. So you would note that for me, because I do have some subscribers here, there is a list of subscribers that are already existing here. So that means within here, I've got a database of about 23 people, for instance. And some of them, obviously, in the past would have received emails. But in the event that you are someone who is new on the platform, you go to add subscribers. Yeah, you add subscribers. The same thing would be similar for all other platforms. And then you want them to go and upload, just the way you typically upload. Many different platforms now have an upload function like this. You'll go and upload here. But very important to note is that before you upload, you must ensure that your database is a CSV file. So that's comma separated values file. Basically, a CSV file is you simply just open up an Excel file and save it as CSV with all the right profile like name, surname, etc. And then you just save it. So I've already saved a file here. So I'll go click here to access the file. I saved a file this morning here, which has got about 5 people on it. And I'm hoping colleagues also do have this database. We'd request that you create and save a database. So for colleagues who do have it and are using MailerLite, I would then encourage you to do exactly the same thing I'm doing here to upload the database. Even for colleagues who are not using MailerLite, you can go ahead and do this, because if you're already using another platform, chances are you then know how to to upload the database. So I will click here on database, and I'll click open. It'll then just process and will give you here the name of the document, so you can see that it's uploaded it, and then you simply then import. Right. So as you import, it then gives you certain fields that you need to match. So in this section of the matching of fields, what you're doing here effectively is you are in your list, you've got name, for example, surname, organization name, just the basics as an example. And here, what you do is you are telling the system that in this field for name, it is indeed the name. So you are matching it. Surname, yes, indeed, this is a surname. So if you look here, it says match fields. As you can see here, it's people's names. Then you go here and tell it that indeed this belongs to names. So you click. So this is a name. For surnames, the same principle. These are surnames. You go here, this belongs to a surname in America, they call it last name. You select. My file or CSV document had also a company or an organization name. It's here, then I tell it, yes, this belongs to a company, right? But typically, these systems work off of email, so they automatically will recognize the structure of an email address, and they will recognize so that this is an email address. And then once you're done with these, you'll then finish the import. If there are colleagues that are having challenge and are currently doing this exercise, please do let me know so I can manage my speeds. If not, I will then proceed to finish the import. But I'll just give you maybe a couple of seconds or a minute for anyone who wants to maybe say if they're having the challenges, etc. And Zamo, also your guidance because of time. Please be my time watcher.
No worries,
Please be my time watcher because
no problem. It looks like
yeah.
everybody's sending thumbs up through,
Okay.
so I think they are sorted. I had prepped a CSV file and sent it to them, so I'm hoping that they just filled that in.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, wonderful. Then from there you just finish import.
Okay, no, it's running. I'm listening.
Then mine has import process is complete now.
We're going from MailerLite, but
Is uploaded for people in my database who are in my database. Because I had already a list, right, or a database in this platform, it's then adding these people within that database, right? So these 4 people have been added, and these are the people that are new in the database. So now I've got a database, or should I say a list of subscribers in the platform. Now, once we are done here, then now you have the opportunity to then create a campaign. So when we speak about creating a campaign, is that now you go ahead and create your actual email design, if you will. And the beauty with these platforms now is that they are drag and drop. When we started doing email campaigns around the early 2000s, you needed to code everything. You needed HTML, so you needed to build everything from scratch. And building it would take you maybe a whole day or 2 days just to build what now you can do in 10 minutes or 20 minutes. That used to take us days because you build everything from scratch, a form, a field, a sentence, a line, all was code. But the beauty now is that when you create when you create campaigns, it's a drag and drop. So I'll go into campaigns here. I had, for my benefit, created this prior to this session. But what I will do for the benefit of our colleagues who are new to the platform is, for now, I will go to perhaps say create campaign to show you how to create a new one. So you go to create a campaign, you will then go to regular campaign, as in creating a regular campaign. And you click continue. When you click to continue, MailerLite, and by the way, all the other platforms, including Everletic and others, will have options to do I want a simple editor? Do I want a drag and drop editor? Or do you want custom HTML editor. This is not recommended. This is what we used to do 15 years ago when we were building platforms, and it took days sometimes. But now you can just get the code
Philani,
from.
if you can just go through the last step a bit with the campaign. Letabo just said, can you just slow down a bit? So I think she might have just, or he or she might have missed that last bit. So I know you're just showing how to create the campaign. So if you can just maybe just show that one more time for people that might have missed it.
Sure. So initially I had created the mailing list or database, which was here, and I had done. So had Letabo done this part, or were they clear here before I moved to campaigns?
Letabo, if you don't mind, maybe you can just tell us which section you might have missed, and then Pilani can just take it from there. Yes. She has, they have been able to upload the list. It's just, I think when you move to the campaign bit is where it kind of maybe lost her a bit there. So I think
Got you.
once you've got the concepts there, creating the campaign now.
Okay, great. Absolutely. So we had uploaded, if you will, the database here. So as I said, this is pretty much the menu where you navigate the platform. So anything you need, you'll find it on this menu here. And essentially, before I move on, actually, when you create on this free version of MailerLite, you can create up to 1,000 free subscribers, so you don't have to pay. You would only have to upgrade and pay when you have more than 1,000 subscribers. So just an FYI. So now that we've uploaded the list, we then go to, on the menu, we go to campaigns here with the email icon, right? You click here, right? And when you click on the campaigns, one or two things will happen. For myself, because I have sent campaigns in the past, I will have a list of different campaigns that are here, like this example and that example, right? So these are drafts, but I will also have sent campaigns that were sent from the past. So this is a menu, these are menu buttons, from the past, etc. So these will show. For you, if you are new, you won't have this. So you then simply need to create the button that's green here to say create campaign. You click here to create campaign. And once you click that button, you'll have this set of clickable options here. And these options essentially will then tell you what you want to do. Do you want to create a regular campaign, which is what we will do? Do you want to create an A/B split campaign? We won't do this today. This is more advanced kind of for setting up campaigns, because you create very similar emails and you have very small variations when you're testing things like call to actions, or you're testing designs where you send an A/B split campaign email. You send two email variations of the same email, but you won't do this today. So you click on regular campaign. So you click here. And once you land here under email design, you will note that there are options of how you can create an email campaign. And one of them will be the drag and drop editor, which personally I prefer. Or you can have a simple editor. And by the way, you can also have a paid version here also contain templates. So i.e. templates like these that have already been created. But these are typically available when you upgrade. But I do always find that even the drag and drop editor does the work, and I mainly use this one. So I will then click here to continue. So here, and you would need colleagues, in your own time also play around with this, but I'll just show you the principles of how it works. Here, drag and drop is that you can build based on your content that you may have, because typically most colleagues, when they want to send an email campaign, they've got a messaging that is already prepared. And the idea here is to say, how do I lay this out in a way that is attractive, easy to read, has got the right images, etc. Right? And that's where you learn here to then do a drag and drop exercise to improve your design. And here you would find that you are able to choose the copy or text styles, as you can see here. You can change color backgrounds to whatever color you may want here as well. You are able to also add different types of layouts. So maybe you want a layout, this layout, as an example. You want another option of a layout, right? So you're able to do the layout options. You are pretty much able to do so much that you can add as many things as you want, add, different text sections for sentences and so on and so forth. So the drag and drop allows you to do all that. But for the sake of this session, and you can play around with it, it's really generally intuitive to do it. And once you played around, obviously you'd add the images you want for the header image. You can click and browse your computer and get images from your computer and bring them in here. You can change colors and color backgrounds, select whatever you can do. You can change spacing for padding within your emails, bottom padding, and so on. In principle, you can do as much as you want. And I would encourage colleagues who are new to this to come here to play around. But then what you would do is that at the end, when you've done this and built this design and obviously added, your copy and made all the changes that you need and inserted links, you would then say to save it. You then say done editing at the very end. And then as you can see here, it's telling me that my buttons don't have links, which is great because it tells you that you need to resolve this and so on. But for the sake of this, I will just say continue anyway, which is great because if you miss something, it'll let you know that in your layout, you don't have links that link perhaps to your website, whatnot. Once you're done here, you then save it. And then when you save it, now this is where you essentially set up your campaign information, where you would, as an example, name a campaign. So as an example for this, would say maybe quarter one. Sorry.
Pilani, are you still there? Pilani? Everyone else, you guys can still hear me? I'm not the one that's dropped off the call.
We can hear you.
We can
Okay.
hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know. I think Pilani might have had some connectivity issues, but in the meantime, I see you've got a couple of hands. I hope I can help you if it's not too complicated, but please go ahead. Desmond, I think I saw your hand was up. Oh, I think those are thumbs up. Okay. Sorry, I might have misunderstood that. Okay, I'll check in with Pilani where he is, but is everybody following fine? Are we all able to get to the step? Are we all on the step? Okay, excellent. I know that it does feel a bit complicated, and it will in the beginning, and that's just because it's something new. And obviously for those of you guys who've already got experience with MailChimp and other tools, you do know that as you play around with it a bit more, it does get easier. Please don't feel afraid to ask the questions. I think in the space is a perfect place for you to ask those questions. I think even
Hi, colleagues, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Sorry, Pilan. I think you might have had a connection issue there.
Apologies. I suspect maybe my area, the internet dropped a bit, but I'm back, and I could hear you, by the way, as you were talking.
Okay.
Yeah, but you could not hear me. And I think we were saying that colleagues have some questions, and I'm happy to take those questions before we continue.
I think one of the questions that has come up, Pilani, earlier was from Freddie wanting to know that is the platform going to stay free for them forever, or is it just a 14-day trial period? And I think there wasn't any clarity in that. Someone did try and answer it. I think it was Ntabi Singh, who said it's free for 500 subscribers. I don't know if you can clarify on that.
Yes, no, I think it's free for 1,000 subscribers unless they've changed it. So it remains free as long as you've got from 1 to 1,000 subscribers or in your list. So what that implies is that as you add more people into the platform, as long as you are less than 1,000, it will forever be free. The beauty of these models is that by the time you have 1,000 subscribers, that means you've been using the platform exhaustively, and that would mean that it's been of benefit for you and you've derived some benefit. So it would make sense then to upgrade after 1,000 people. But generally, it's for free forever.
And then before we go back, I think we've got a couple of hands. So Diana has a question, Desmond has a question, and then Daniela also has quite a specific question. And I think let's start like that in that order. Diana, Desmond, then Daniela. And then, yeah, we can carry on.
Mine is just, okay, mine is just quick, Samo. This is recorded here so that we can go back and practice and
yes, Diana, it is recorded. I also saw Samantha in the chat asking me, it's recorded. I will add it on our YouTube page, like I've loaded all our other masterclasses. I'll also share the presentation from Pilani so that you guys can be able to kind of follow the presentation as well, but we will be recording it and putting it on our YouTube page as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diana. Desmond, then Daniela.
Hi, it's Simon.
Sorry, Simon. It's Desmond here.
Yes, no, I'm with Desmond. I just wanted to check now that the for free part of it is limited to 1,000. Will I be able to replace if I want to remove one of the subscribers?
Absolutely, Simon, you can.
Okay, thank you so much.
But I have to say that once you've run a couple of campaigns, remember when you run campaigns, you're able to pull results and reports, analytics and metrics. But then when you remove people, you lose, for those people, you lose those results in the past. So as an example, let's say you have, we'll touch on this, by the way, next. You have created a segment of people. Maybe you have active donors. That's people who are currently donating to you. And you would then say active donors are people who, as a rule, have donated in, let's say, in the last 6 or 12 months, right? And as you send, they obviously would open, click through, so you have that data and the reports. Once you delete, then you would lose their reports, by the way. So just an FYI. But yes, you can remove and add people as you wish, but just be aware that you would lose people's information. I hope that helps.
Okay, and then last question from Daniela. She did have a question earlier, actually, but I think this is probably a great time to ask. Daniela, please go ahead. If you are speaking, Daniela, you're muted, just as a heads up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Perfect. So my question is, we moved from MailChimp to sender.net, and we're still in the process of moving the subscribers. But the CSV file that MailChimp created has all of the emails, but it doesn't have all of the first name, last names. So we lost quite a bit of those. So I'm just like asking if you have any ideas or anything that to recover those names in, I don't know, maybe in a form way or in an email, or maybe just continue with the emails and it doesn't matter that we don't have the first name, last name. I don't know what the advice would be here.
Yeah, tricky one, Daniela. So your old MailChimp platform, is it still active or have you closed it down?
I'm actually not sure. I have to ask that. But they just sent me, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first thing, because then you should be able to export everything with all the details, as long as you still have access to the platform.
Okay, and if we didn't?
If you don't, that might be a challenge because depending on how you've collected your database over time. For instance, for people who came from events, etc., you might find there's someone in your organization have the files that have the names. And for some scenarios of data collection, you find that maybe they subscribe on a form. That form would have belonged or would have been assigned to MailChimp. So if the account is closed, you can't access that. So I think the first thing is that let's hope your MailChimp account is still active and is not closed down. And maybe if you were canceling and maybe you in a notice period of canceling, you might need to reactivate to access and export. But otherwise, if not, then you might have a challenge, and then you would then need to run a campaign where you take all your emails that you have without people's names, and you would do a reactivation campaign where you would send an email to everyone and requesting them to share their again. So there are ways of doing that, where you would have a form inside on your email communication. Obviously, you will structure the content in a way that is nicely structured, but given a reason to saying we're trying to keep our, maybe something along the lines, we're trying to keep our email database current. Please just update your name and surname, etc. And then when you do that and have a form inside the email template, and if people respond to that, that's going to be updated in the new platform's database. So it's possible, but it's an innovative way of doing it. But the first prize is if you still have your old MailChimp account.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. That was very helpful.
Daniela, call me. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Okay, great. So I'll move on then, colleagues, and apologies for dropping off. Let me share again my screen. So I was here, colleagues, where I was just trying to show once you've created your email your email template, and you are saving it, and then you want to give a campaign name. So for instance, the campaign name here can be Quarter One Fundraiser, right? And then once you have the Quarter One Fundraiser, then you would then need to then create create a subject line. Subject line is the first thing that people see. We'll be talking now when I move on to in the presentation about subject lines, which is a very important section of presentation. You would then put on your subject line, a correct one, whatever that may be, but it definitely needs to be a good subject line. Excuse me. And then once done, you would then, by the way, you are able to add icons as well on subject lines. I'm not a fan of adding icons on subject lines, by the way, but it's doable. And then once you've done that, you then click on continue. So you can see here, I had not selected recipients. So I'm going to go here, recipients, which gives me access to my database. And maybe I'll say I choose the lapsed donor segment. I'll explain how you create this, by the way, and select it, and then continue. And then while I'm here, I could then just go and say send now or send later, schedule it for later, etc. So, but while we are here, which is where you would now send, you'd notice that we did not really delve much in terms of the type of content that should go in a good kind of fundraising email, which is what we will deal with now back to the presentation. So we've kind of lightly walked through some of the mechanics of how to set this up, but naturally I would encourage colleagues to spend more time playing around with this. They also do have videos that help you with step by step, so that's helpful as well. And also you'll find that also on YouTube and Google, you'll find videos that help you with this. But in principle, the idea was to show you what the mechanics look like for a bulk mailer send. But for now, we will not send this. What I want to go back to now is then, remember we had created a database that we uploaded. I want to go back there. So this will be, because I haven't sent it, will then be saved in my drafts, by the way. But then I want to go back to here. You see, it's in my drafts for now. But what I want to do is then go back to subscribers. So we had uploaded the subscribers. And then I spoke about segments, which is this menu here, segments. And I'd spoken that segments are quite important for email communication, especially when you're dealing with stakeholders and funders, because what you do, you create within, let's say you have 1,000 people in your database, or 999 before you upgrade. And within the database, there will be various type of stakeholders who are in different stages of engaging with the organization. And now, if we zoom into, let's say, your donors as stakeholders, you'll find that there might be people who have engaged and signed up for your in your organization on your email list, and these might be people who have not donated but have an interest in donating. That's one type of segment, which I would call interested donors. Then there will be donors who are active in your organization. That is, they've donated within the last 6 to 12 months. You will then have what you call lapsed donors. So that donors maybe who may have donated in the past actively, something happens and suddenly you realize, this donor has not donated to us, maybe in a span of more than 13 months. So if they've not donated within 12 months, they're a lapsed donor, they've lapsed, they're not donating anymore. It's another segment. And we create segments to understand behavior and categorize in databases users, because then different categories or different segments require different types of communication. So, as an example, you might find that you need to have a campaign in the year that only speaks to lapsed donors who haven't donated for, say, a year or more, and you may want to reactivate them. And perhaps the way to reactivate them is to say, programmatically, what can you communicate in our content? And we'll speak about content. What can you communicate in our content that would make these guys come back as donors and give us money again? And part of that process then will be, let's set up a campaign for our lapsed donor campaign, and perhaps is to share reports or updates on the work that's been done in the last 12 months by the organization, successes, challenges, and so on. And perhaps then send it through to only exclusively to the lapsed donors to reactivate those guys. And then you might find that maybe every quarter, then you do that. Every 3 months, you send one comms to try and reconvert the lapsed donors. Or you may have active donors who want updates on the work being done every 6 months or every 12 months. Then it allows you as well to send those updates to specifically those kind of donors. Or you may have interested donors who have not donated. Again, you can then run campaigns specifically for them. So segments, what they do is they allow you to categorize people in a database based on their behavior and their interests and so on. And that's where the magic of bulk email communications happen, because you speak to X amount of people, 500 at a time, but they are categorized as very specific types of subscribers. And when you speak to them en masse, but it speaks to them because it's, their behavior and what they need to hear, etc. And that's really is the beauty of email comms. And that's why earlier when you opened, we spoke about what is, why email still now is still one of the best ways to communicate for fundraising, as an example. So the question then would be, how do you create these segments in MailerLite? And by the way, other platforms as well, we can do this. Is that once you click on subscribers, which is where you are now, you click on segments. And then once you go on segments, you then create segment here. So I'll say create, and I'll create one from scratch. And by the way, MailerLite already has preset segments. So for instance, they've already preset segment for devoted customers, frequent link clickers. So these are your more active subscribers, active openers, people that open your email communications more than others. Not active lately, which is lapsed, kind of not opens yet, someone who you've sent communications and so on. So if any of these preset segments make sense to you, either click create, it's already created and they'll function. But we all know that in some scenarios, you may not have anything here that is relevant, which is what we will do. So I want to create a segment that speaks to interested donors. So people who have never donated but read our emails quite frequently, and they open the emails but have never donated. But based on behavior, their open rates, and so on, they are interested. I will click here, start from scratch, create a segment. I will name the segment interested donors, and then I will create. As you can see, the interested donors here. Then I will go to choose a filter. So when you choose a filter, you're now creating the rules. What are the rules for these interested donors? And for me, an interested donor would be someone based on their email actions. So their email actions, what do they do when we send them emails in the past? I'll click on email actions, and then I'll say if they've opened an email from us last maybe 30 days, could be 40 days, whatever, 60 days, they're active and they're opening. So this is an action. Or alternatively, and for instance, another filter could be they also perhaps in the last campaign, they might have clicked on our last campaign as well. So there are many different variations, or they might have located in a certain area. There's many variations, but then you create these filters. But I think the most relevant one for now, based on behavior, is they frequently open the emails. So then I will then use this one as a filter or a rule for interested donors, and then I'll save changes. So already when you do that, this filter goes straight into the database that I have and will work out which people fit this filter or this behavior. And just by doing that, I've created a segment. And now when I send, as you would have seen in my send example earlier, which maybe I'll go back to it because just to drive the point home, under campaigns, you would notice here that if I edit this and try to resend, and I want to choose a database under recipients. Now I have interested donors, so I would only send it to these guys and select. But it's got 0 subscribers now. But obviously, based on your historic behavior of people in the database, these are already there and saved. So when you create that segment, it then picks up the number of people. And then you're able to then say, okay, fine, I'm selecting these guys, I will be sending to these guys, etc. So that is it. So segments are very useful, and you can have variation of segments depending on what you want to do and the rules you want to set up. But I think for now, colleagues, we will pause now on the platform and go back to our broader chat around, because what we were doing now was to go through the bulk of the session, which was this session. So we've spoken about creating MailerLite, about importing or building a donor list. We spend a little time here. we've then spoken about segmenting audiences and obviously writing and scheduling your fundraising. But I think the one thing we haven't done, which is very important, and there's a crux also of the session, is what makes a donor email effective. And we'll use the last remaining 20 or so minutes quickly going through this. We are out of time. I think we have about less than 30 minutes left. And essentially, an important and well-structured and effective email comms, colleagues, tends to have 4 parts. And these 4 parts are what you call the hook is the first part. The hook is the first 2 sentences. When I communicate something, let's say we'll use maybe the scenario of lapsed donors. So they've not donated to us in more than 12 months. And I want to reactivate these guys to say, come and back and donate to us. First, you create when you're structuring the content, this content will be the content that you'll add into that drag and drop section I showed you earlier. The first thing you want to do is to then say, the first 2 sentences are the most important sentences in that email structure. We call them the hook. You start with a story. Ideally, when I give them a striking fact or a human moment, that ties into your programs or programmatically to your organization. And that is, in a way, trying to then create an emotional connection before you even ask anything to that lapsed donor, as an example. And an example here would be last Tuesday, Amara or Amanda or Amahle, whoever, walked 6Ks to access clean water. Something many of us do with that thing every day or every morning, through our taps. So, already that for a reader, we'll want them to read more. That's what we call a hook. It's the way you start your first 2 sentences on your email communication message. Whatever the function of that comms or campaign is, that is, ideally you wanna start with a very intriguing and interesting hook. Then from there, you want to then give them the full context. So the full context is, okay, your organization, you're trying to bring these subscribers back or these donors back to donate to your organization. Then you want to say the context, what is the problem? And the work that your organization does. And here you briefly explain the challenge your organization addresses, and most importantly, also, what are you specifically doing about it right now? An example here is this text here. Our mobile water units have reached 3,400 people this year, but 12 more communities are still waiting. You then work with that. Now it gives them context of what you need, the need itself, the problem within your work. And then you want to do the ask, right? So what do you need? And you need to have a specific request here to say, make one clear specific ask, and ideally state a random amount or a specific action that you want them to undertake. Because human nature, including donors, they respond to specific call to action or asks that are specific. Oh, you want me to do this? Oh, yes, I can do it here. An example here for the water example is a gift of 350 rands funds one month of a gift of 350 rands funds 1 month of clean water for a family. Can you help us reach the next community? It's concrete, it's specific, it's got a figure to it, etc. And in closing, you then want to create agency for your organization. But also, while creating agency, you want to show gratitude, because in this example of maybe a lapsed donors, they would have donated in the past, and maybe life is busy. Their circumstances might have changed in the last 12 months. And now maybe they can come back and donate. But also, you want to give them agency and gratitude, and at a time-based reason to give now, and then close with a genuine appreciation, because your donors ultimately are your partners. And the example here is our next delivery is 14 May donate before Friday, and your gift goes directly to Tembela Village. Thank you. So by doing this, with all the work that you've done, setting up your template inside MailerLite or MailChimp or Everletic and all that work, it really boils down to the messaging and the quality of the messaging and the structure of the messaging. And this structure works quite well. In my other life as well, as director of tech for a human rights organization that was based in New York, it was called All Out, and we are fighting for, our programmatically we're fighting for human rights and for LGBTQI rights, and the organization was funded not by institutions but was funded by everyday people, which allowed the organization the flexibility and not have limitation in terms of what it can do with funds, because the funds are not only limited to programs, but they could do funds and raise funds also for their operational work, which is always a big challenge with the space. And this work and the communications, they use this kind of model around communicating. And in fact, I would say even I would worry less about the beauty of your template, as long as it's sent in a platform like MailerLite, as long as the actual message is effective. And this is how typically effective messages are structured. In my barometer of importance, beautiful designs are great, but messaging that that works like this one is more important, in fact. So with that in mind, colleagues, I hope I'm not moving too fast, but we are running out of time slowly. And Zamo will guide me if there are hands or anything as we go. But I've already touched on this area of segmentation quite a lot, and I've showed you the examples. We've spoken about active donors, lapsed donors. Perhaps we've even spoken about champions. This is a segment where these are your major donors, in fact, in the champion organizations. And prospects are what you call interested donors. We've already spoken about this and how you structure this for your email communications. And hopefully you still have time, but I really like us to do this exercise. And this exercise really communicates to the principles of a 4-part nonprofit email structure that is effective for whatever type of campaign that you might want to run. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to get colleagues to participate in this exercise. And this one is effectively creating a strong subject line. Because reality is that as much as you can have a good 4-part message, the one we spoke about, but if someone or your potential donors don't open your emails, all that beautiful messaging inside will not match email because they would have not opened it. So your subject line is really the door, where everything, if no one opens the door, opens your email, then nothing really matters at the end of the day. Doesn't matter how beautiful your email template is, doesn't matter how well structured your messaging is. And I would like us to, for instance, think about our organizations, the ones we work with now, and think about programmatically perhaps some of the communication you are thinking about to send. This could be perhaps finding new donors, or for another organization is retaining existing donors, reactivating lapsed old donors, whatever the scenario. Think about that email comms you would want to send. And I would be interested to have a few brave souls who would be willing to share, and they would need to give us a bit more context on whatever email comms they were looking at sending and what that subject line looks like. And there are in the room colleagues who are already doing campaigns, and perhaps you have a campaign that's coming up or a campaign that just went out. And think about that. And you need to then, while you think about that for this exercise, Also think about the example we just made around the water example. But I don't want to restrict it to that. But I want us to think about, 5 subject line formulas as you go through this exercise. So typically, subject lines could be a question. Now I'm referring to the water example. The question can be, can 350 change a family's future, right? For that example that we just had now of the water NGO, this kind of question in that email messaging is powerful. Or you want to have a subject line that speaks around urgency, right? It's time-based. 3 days left, your support closes the gap. So that's another type of formula for a subject line. Or you can personalize a subject line because, colleagues, what you can do, by the way, when you put in subject line, where I showed you earlier, you can personalize that, i.e., you can edit what we call it a tag, a first name tag. So if you personalize it, each and every person who receives that email, it'll start with their name and will name them correctly if your database is structured correctly. So for instance, it's another way to create interest when someone is addressed by their name in the subject line before they open email. Or another way or formula of having a really strong subject line is story hook. She walked 6 kilometers. Can you change that today? Or last but not least, some of the structures of these around numbers and figures. And these sometimes can be quite powerful. An example here is 12 communities, one ask, will you help? So all in all, there are various ways of structuring the subject line, which is your door to your donors, really, or potential donors. And subject lines are pretty much the most important activity you will do in terms of getting it right. And in the past, and someone who's worked in and done a lot of campaigns, historically within my professional environment, is that, we don't spend enough time. We will spend enough time building a beautiful template. We'll spend enough time creating maybe strong content. But because by the time you finish all that, you've been doing so much work, we sometimes don't pay enough attention to subject lines. And they're probably the most important part of the component or of the structure and activity of sending out an email communication. So I would like them, colleagues, we're really out of time. I would like
Yes, I was
colleagues
gonna
to,
say, Pelani, we've got 5 minutes, so maybe if we can just have one person or one example only, just to be mindful of the time.
absolutely,
But yeah.
absolutely. I will ask one colleague who would be keen to perhaps just share, maybe in a recent email comms they sent or one they're about to send. And if maybe some ideas were sparked during this session, share one example of a strong subject line. I cannot see. So you'll guide me, Zamo.
No problem, Plenty. I actually was going to say there is someone who's put in the chat earlier. Charlotte had put in to say at TX Foundation, they have an upcoming fun run on the 3rd of October, and they'd love to be assisted with the campaign to be able to get sponsors for this event. So maybe that might be something we could use.
Interesting. Will you please say that again? They have an upcoming fundraiser.
Fun run on the 3rd of October, and they'd love to get assisted with getting sponsors for this particular event.
Okay, I think then let's pick on you. And maybe the request would be based on the subject line formulas you see here. How would you best structure a subject line for an email requesting people to come for the fun run in the upcoming months? And maybe give you a minute to think about it. And then you can just maybe type in your thoughts around what would be a strong subject line, ideally using one of these tactics here around whether it's a question or creating agency or a story hook or using a number for that matter to a subject line.
And guys, I know that some of you need to jump off, and that's perfectly fine. For those of you who can stay, so we can just wrap up properly with Philani, please do stay. Otherwise, thank you to everybody who has been able to join us. I know we've got 1 minute left of our official time. I do know you've got other commitments, but those of you who are able to stay and participate, please do go ahead and do that. Otherwise, a big, big thank you to everybody else who has been able to join us. And then, yeah, the rest of us will just wrap up with Pilani, and then I'll also be sharing the recording once it's up, as well as the actual document, so that you guys can be able to follow and actually just kind of see how everything works. But thank you so much. I don't want to hold you back from your other commitments if you do need to go.
And just to add, thank you so much, colleagues. I think we'll improve these practical sessions as we go. So any feedback to Zamo for what maybe may be improved would be really helpful to see how we can shape and co-create them and make them better. This was the first of, I think, a 6-part series. So we would love to further improve the structure of this new format. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Pilani. I think we do have a few people who did kind of respond to what you were asking. I see Mtunzi said, run for life. Join us on the 3rd of October and then obviously you would carry on with whatever the messaging would be there. And then Dogozo was kind of leaning back to your water example of earlier. And Dogozo said, why do water crises haunt school children? So very nice as well there. And then I kind of participated in the exercise because I remember one of the other things you mentioned was around like using numbers. So kind of putting it together, but personalizing it and using numbers. So I used the first name idea. So putting the first person's name and then kind of saying 15 kilometers can change hundreds of lives. So these are just some of the examples that have come up on here as subject lines. I don't know if you think these are strong enough, or you'd come back and say, maybe go work on it a bit more.
I really love, I think it's Dogozo. Why water crisis is haunt school children. I mean, it's the question. But I think the question itself really would prompt me personally to open the email to say, what, because there's a story behind it, the question, and it's loaded. And I think it's a kind of question in the subject line that would really make me want to open, because maybe inside that particular email, there will be some stats on what's happening and also an ask, So really, I really, really like that one a lot. And I think that's quite a nice subject line that you would really, really open. But I think, colleague, in principle, what we've been trying to achieve in this session and the presentation will be shared was to spark some thinking around the importance of well-structured email communications for fundraising and donor communication. There are many, many scenarios we haven't covered here, but the idea was to speak about, email comms and fundraising and some of the opportunities that exist. And the encouragement would be for you to look into how do you best improve and innovate in how you communicate with email comms that I think out of all platforms are still the most affordable way to communicate. And the ROI, return on investment, is still quite good for your efforts as an organization when you do email comms, and also you're able to build really, really great numbers in terms of metrics and analytics. So, and I think also, the heart really of our session was going through the platform and doing these exercises, which you can continue doing them. But otherwise, we were wrapping up, and we've wrapped up. And what I had hoped to achieve, whether we have today or not, is a different question, and will improve the structure of these sessions, was to, look at colleagues' campaigns and say, takeaway today would be you leave with the ready-to-use deliverables that you can use on your campaigns, and ideas and a way of how you can improve your campaigns when you communicate with the donors. And also for those colleagues who may not be doing segmentation, to start doing segmentation and follow the full the kind of also follow the way you structure good email comms for donor communication. So that was really the idea. But yes, I think we pretty much wrapped up, Zamo. And I do thank colleague for staying for so long, and thank you for your time.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Philani. I think, as usual, such an insightful session. I think a lot of us were learning a lot of things for the first time today. I mean, I use MailChimp, but there's things that I picked up on MailerLite that I was taking notes of as well, to kind of say this is quite an interesting thing. It's so different. And I just wanted to say we really do appreciate your patience with us. I know it's very difficult to try and facilitate a session where the skills level are not the same, and tech issues and other things can also take over. But just a big thank you to you as our facilitator. Thank you for your patience and your guidance, but more especially thank you to our NGOs who've been able to join and who are participating and are really engaged. I think today's session was really great, and I'm hoping that this is a start of great email campaigns and great fundraising campaigns into the future. Like Pilani has said, I will be sharing these notes with you guys, and there's a nice little exercise that you can do with your colleagues as well, if you are part of the people that are actually going to be sending out campaigns, to test out your subject lines and other things as well. But just a big thank you to all of you guys. Looking forward to more of these sessions. Please feel free to send us any feedback that you might have. And also please do excuse us. It was our first one where we had the practical side of it. And so we hadn't really tested it out before, but we think it went okay. But if there's anything that you maybe want to give us as a tip for the next ones, we are more than ready to hear that feedback. And if you've got any questions, maybe, please feel free to stay on. I think Pilani's got about 10 more minutes to be able to answer any extra questions. And then otherwise, everybody else who has to go and who is done with us for the day, thank you. See you at the end of the month for our other masterclass on smartphone usage, and wishing you all the best for the rest of the week. Cheers, everybody.
I think there was a hand up
Yes,
earlier.
I
I'm
was
not
gonna.
sure.
I just wanted to stop
Yeah.
recording. I did see. I think.